Welcome, young scholars. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey into a story about trust, friendship, and transformation. Our narrator, referred to simply as I, invites us to see life through his eyes. He is a young thief who meets Anil, a man who trusts him completely. Right from the start, a powerful question is posed. Does the boy betray this trust? This story uses what we call point of view, where the narrator tells us his personal experience. You will find the sense of honesty and internal conflict quite gripping. A young boy makes friends with Anil. Anil trusts him completely and employs him. Does the boy betray his trust? Observe the use of a rhetorical question here. Does he betray his trust? Which engages us, urging us to think deeply while reading. Who do you think the I is here? What might a fairly successful hand mean in this context? And importantly, what does the boy gain from Anil in return for his work? Take about 20 seconds to ponder these questions as they frame the heart of the story we are exploring. The I refers to the boy himself, our narrator. A fairly successful hand means an able or skilled person, in this case, a thief experienced at his craft. And what he receives from Anil initially is food and shelter basic, but immensely valuable kindness. This setup introduces a rich theme trust given without hesitation, and what that can inspire. Let's move forward to see how this relationship unfolds. Let's zoom in on the character of Anil, the man who captures the trust of our young narrator. The author carefully paints Anil's image, saying he is a tall, lean fellow, easygoing and kind. When we say lean, we mean slender but strong. Notice how the narrator notices Anil at a wrestling match, a lively, physical sport, which sets a scene full of energy. The narrator uses flattery compliments meant to charm when he says, "You look a bit of a wrestler yourself." Flattery here is a technique the boy uses deliberately to gain Anil's friendliness and trust. We all know someone who warms up others with kind words, right? But here, it's a subtle trick. What does the phrase "simple enough for my purpose" imply? It suggests the boy thinks Anil might be easy to manipulate because of his kind and straightforward nature. Pause for 25 seconds and think about these questions. How does the author use description to build Anil's character? Why does the boy use flattery? And what might this tell us about his intentions? Great insights. Anil's character is built through lively imagery and straightforward traits that make him approachable. The flattery reveals the boy's initial untrustworthy and cunning nature, aiming to exploit Anil's kindness. This interplay prepares us for the moral tension to come between these characters. Understanding these character traits is step one to unraveling the story's deeper message about trust and transformation. Now we explore the narrator's deception lying about his name and skills to survive. The narrator tells Anil he is Hari Singh, which is untrue. Changing names used to be a clever trick for thieves to avoid police, showing his experience and cautious mind. He also lies about knowing how to cook, which is humorous because Anil's reaction is to feed his awful meal to a stray dog. This ironic moment shows the boy's persistent attempt to fit in despite his shortcomings. But notice Anil's kindness. Despite the bad meal and lies, he smiles and laughs, offering to teach him cooking and writing. This contrast between deception and patience highlights a major theme kindness can open pathways for change. Pause for 20 seconds now. Why does the narrator feel the need to lie? How does Anil react? And what do these reactions tell us about his personality? Excellent analysis. The narrator's lies stem from fear and survival instincts. He is not ready to be honest. Anil's laughter and willingness to teach demonstrate incredible patience and goodness. This kindness plants seeds for the boy's transformation, showing how human warmth might change even a thief's heart. These ideas enrich our understanding of character contrast deception, balance with generosity. Look at figure displayed on your screen, a tender moment captured between two people in a cozy domestic space filled with shelves and jars. This image wonderfully reflects the nurturing bond between Anil and the boy. Anil's act of teaching the boy to cook and write his name is more than just skill transfer. It symbolizes hope and transformation. When Anil pats the boy's head, notice the word pat, pronounced pat. It shows affection and acceptance. This gentle gesture suggests trust, care, and encouragement. The boy realizes that learning to write like an educated man opens limitless doors. This is a beautiful symbol of personal growth and responsibility, from a thief surviving on flattery and lies to someone who can build a better future. Pause for 30 seconds. Reflect on how teaching here is a metaphor for hope. What could a metaphor for your own growth look like? I hope you created vivid metaphors. Perhaps something like learning is the sunrise that brightens dark paths, or each lesson is a seed growing into a mighty tree. The boy's story reminds us that trust and kindness can nurture growth even from difficult beginnings. Remember, transformation needs both opportunity and support. Anil provides both. Pause and consider the depth of Anil's trust. He gives the boy a key to his door and freedom to come and go. This is incredible trust. The boy admits he could steal but finds it difficult because stealing from a careless man like Anil, who often doesn't even notice, takes all the pleasure out of the work. This is a revealing contrast. Let's explore this idea. The boy says it's easier to rob a greedy man, someone who expects to be cheated and can absorb losses. Anil's simple, trusting nature makes deceit less enjoyable because it lacks the challenge and even the thrill that thieves seek. This passage uses internal monologue, a literary technique where the narrator shares his thoughts, allowing us to glimpse his moral struggles. Pause for 25 seconds and reflect. Why does Anil's trust create a moral dilemma for the boy? What does this tell us about the narrator's conscience? Excellent reflections. Anil's trust awakens a conscience in the boy because it's so genuine and unguarded. The boy is caught between temptation and a growing sense of respect and perhaps guilt. This internal conflict, the push and pull inside his mind, is at the heart of his transformation. Understanding this struggle enriches our appreciation of complex characters and themes in literature. Next, we look at Anil's financial life described vividly with phrases like fits and starts. This idiom, pronounced exactly as you see fits and starts, means irregular or sporadic. Anil's income appears unstable. Sometimes he borrows money, sometimes lends. The author adds intrigue by revealing that Anil writes for magazines and even sells a book, suggesting a creative, intellectual side beyond the surface. This adds dimension to his character. He is not just a trusting man, but also a struggling artist. Contrast this with the boy, who makes small but steady profits by occasionally cheating on the shopping. This contrast highlights different lifestyles and honesty levels. Visualize the image of Anil tucking money under the mattress. This act evokes a sense of old-fashioned caution and perhaps insecurity, a vivid image to understand his life situation. Pause now for 20 seconds. How does Anil's financial instability contrast with the boy's sneakier income? What might the money under the mattress symbolize about Anil's character? Amazing thoughts. The contrast suggests Anil is vulnerable in his own way, with trust and optimism despite hardship, while the boy relies on cunning and small theft. The money under the mattress symbolizes careful preservation and perhaps fear of losing what little he has, deepening our sympathy for Anil. Recognizing such contrasts, helps us analyze characters with more empathy. The narrator openly considers a shift in his life. When he says, "It's time I did some real work," he is acknowledging a desire to move beyond stealing into honest effort. This moment is an example of moral awakening, a growing awareness of right and wrong, and the possibility to change behavior. Despite his lingering justification, "He doesn't even pay me," we sense deeper conflict brewing. Pause with me for 20 seconds. What might real work signify for the narrator? How does this reflect his internal struggle? Have you ever faced a moment where you had to decide to change? Think about the feelings involved. Great reflections. Real work here symbolizes choosing an honest path instead of crime. The internal battle between old habits and new possibilities is a universal theme everyone can relate to. It's inspiring to see the narrator contemplate change, reminding us that it's never too late to grow. Literature gives us windows into such human experiences, encouraging empathy and self-awareness. Now, let's examine figure on your screen, a beautiful black and white sketch showing two people sitting on the floor in a warm, simple room with shelves holding containers. Focus on their body language. The older figure leans forward, pointing gently at something small in the younger person's hand. This visual cue tells a story of care, patience, and a learning moment. The younger appears curious and intent, highlighting trust and engagement. The cozy domestic setting shown by shelves and containers supports the atmosphere of nurturing and everyday life emphasis on learning as a gentle, natural process. Pause and reflect for 25 seconds. What feelings does this image bring up for you? Can you imagine the kind of conversation or lesson taking place? Try writing a paragraph describing it in your own words. Beautiful thoughts. This image captures the quiet magic of education and human connection, central themes of our story. It reminds us that learning is not only about books, but about kindness and shared moments. When we describe scenes like this, we use sensory details and emotional words to make writing come alive. Keep this image in mind as you continue exploring the story's themes of trust and growth. Let's dive into the heart of this story, its themes. Trust stands tall as a pillar here, especially through Anil's generous nature, entrusting the boy with keys and freedom. The narrator contrasts robbing a greedy man to robbing a careless one. This contrast points to irony. The thief finds little satisfaction stealing from someone who often doesn't even realize it. It deepens the theme of trust and betrayal. More importantly, the story hints at redemption. The boy learns from kindness and starts dreaming of real work. This is a literary arc from wrongdoing to transformation. Pause for 25 seconds and reflect. How do you see trust playing out between the characters? Do you think betrayal is inevitable, or is redemption possible? What do you think the author wants you to understand about human nature? Thoughtful reflections. Trust here acts as a powerful force that can inspire change. Betrayal is a risk, but not a certainty. The story communicates hope that kindness and education can redeem even those who begin on dark paths. It's a universal message about the potential within all people to grow and change. Let's focus closely on our narrator, a character full of contradictions, challenges, and potential. He is what we call a complex character, someone with many different traits, some that may even clash. The boy is a skilled thief, surviving by deception and cunning. Yet he also expresses gratitude and hope, valuing Anil's kindness more than his own dishonest gains. In passage, we hear his conflicted internal thoughts. He admits opportunities to steal, but finds it difficult to rob Anil due to the trust placed in him. This is an intimate peek into his internal conflict, narrated in first person for immediacy and emotional impact. Pause for 20 seconds. How does this internal struggle deepen your understanding of the boy? What signs do you see indicating his readiness to change? Your insights are spot on. The boy's struggle between past habits and new feelings shows growth. His emerging empathy and respect for Anil's trust suggests a dynamic character, one who evolves across the story, making him deeply relatable and real. Characters like this help us explore the gray areas of morality and human nature. Now, we focus on literary devices that enrich the author's storytelling. We see a striking contrast between the thief's craftiness and Anil's careless trust. Contrast helps spotlight these opposing characters, making their interactions vivid. Irony appears too. The thief finds robbing a careless man difficult and unrewarding, which feels opposite to what we might expect. This unexpected twist draws readers in and deepens the story's complexity. Internal monologue lets us hear directly from the narrator's mind, revealing fears, temptations, and admiration. It helps build emotional connection and understanding. Pause for 20 seconds. Can you point out the contrast and irony in the passage? How does internal monologue deepen your connection to the narrator? Why are these devices effective in storytelling? Great job. The contrast between the thief's cunning and Anil's simplicity, combined with irony about theft's pleasures, paints a complex emotional picture. Internal monologue breaks the fourth wall, inviting us into the boy's conscience. These tools make literature come alive, engaging our minds and hearts. Let's sharpen our language skills by focusing on some key vocabulary from the story words that carry important emotional and moral weight. Take the word betray. It means to break someone's trust. For example, to betray a friend is very hurtful. How might this word apply to our narrator's dilemma? Flattery means insincere praise used to win favor. Remember how the boy flatters Anil at the wrestling match to get close? A sentence could be, he used flattery to gain the teacher's favor. Confidence means trust or belief in the story. Anil shows confidence in the boy by trusting him with his keys. Temptation is the desire to do wrong. The boy struggles with the temptation to steal from Anil. Finally, conscience is the inner voice guiding us to right and wrong. The boy's conscience makes stealing difficult. Pause for 20 seconds to use one of these words in your own sentence. Fantastic. Using words like these helps us connect language to feelings and ideas in our stories. Building vocabulary through context makes our reading richer and our writing clearer. Today's grammar focus is on how authors represent internal monologue, that is, the character's own thoughts, often written in the first person with I. Well, it's time I did some real work, I told myself. I'm out of practice, and if I don't take the money, he'll only waste it on his friends. Notice the use of commas and semicolons that break thoughts into parts, creating natural pauses much like spoken language. These punctuations guide readers through the narrator's hesitation and self-talk, increasing emotional immediacy. Pause for 20 seconds and try to identify the sentences that show internal monologue. How do the commas help express pauses? Now, as an exercise, try rewriting one sentence by inserting, for example, well, it's time I did some real work. This dash shows a dramatic pause. Good job. Understanding how punctuation shapes meaning is crucial for both reading and writing. Internal monologue with well-placed commas and dashes allows writers to vividly portray a character's inner world, making stories more relatable and engaging. Let's practice responding to comprehension and reflection questions using the story as our guide. When asked, "Why is Anil's trust important?" a strong answer uses textual evidence. Anil's trust allows the boy to feel valued and safe, which sparks feelings of hope and potential for change. Reflecting personally, if you were in the boy's shoes, complex emotions like gratitude and confusion would likely emerge, along with the challenge of choosing between past and future. Pause for 15 seconds to consider your own responses and how you would express them clearly and thoughtfully. Great work! Good literary responses combine specific story details with your thoughtful insights. This approach deepens both your understanding and enjoyment of literature. Let's end on a creative high note. Imagine the boy's life a year after the story ends. Has he changed for good? Is he working honestly? What is his emotional state now? Your task is to write a short paragraph in first-person narration, just like the story, to keep the voice intimate and real. Include sensory details, maybe the warm smell of baked bread or the sound of a pen on paper, to bring your scene alive. Express the boy's feelings, hope, determination, maybe lingering doubts. Think of this as stepping into his shoes. Pause for 30 seconds to jot down your paragraph. Let your imagination and empathy guide you. Wonderful imagery and emotion. Creative writing lets us explore characters beyond the text, deepening understanding and nurturing empathy. Two treasures of literature. Keep writing and embracing stories, for this is where language comes alive.